Well, good evening from me. Good
Morning.
Saturday morning for you guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's funny because I live in a non-English country, and so I find out about holidays when like my English friends wish me happy holidays and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are in the middle of a holiday weekend, and you're taking the time to come and pitch your Pomelo pitch decks. I mean, that's some pretty solid pitching.
Yeah. JP had your parents'
Yeah.
birthdays are on the same day,
Yeah. Same
so we
day.
we couldn't mess that up, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So
That's
we had
pretty
to
awesome.
reschedule.
Yeah, that's cool. So if you don't know these amazing people, Jerry Rucker and JP Wake Up Johnny from EOS Detroit. Well, I mean, I guess EOS Detroit is still a block producer, but you guys
Yes.
changed it up a little bit over there.
Yeah, we changed the name, and it's actually been something that we've been looking to do for quite some time now. So as you guys know, we've been very involved in a number of chains, EOS.io chains. So we were just looking for the right time to do it, and we figured, hey, why not? The new year, let's do that. So we kind of pivoted to Detroit Ledger Technologies, and we want people in the city to know. Like, I think that's a better way of conveying what we do than EOS Detroit. Like, no one knows what EOS is. And so, us pivoting toward that new name in conjunction with a lot of things we're doing in the city for this year, I think is going to align for us very well.
It messed me up a little bit because I was like trying to, find out how to like tweet this out, and
Yeah.
I came across it and I was like, the logo's the same, all the people are the same. Okay, well, I guess this is them. I like it, to be honest. I think it's, as you said, nobody really knows what EOS Detroit is, but even as opposed to like blockchain or Bitcoin, Ledger Technologies has a better ring to it, I think, right? Like for mainstream people who are a little bit afraid of volatile markets like they see on the news and things like that, it gives that kind of
I
whole
think
point across.
Ledger will age better than blockchain.
Right,
Blockchain
right.
blockchain is like, the buzzword. We'll go back and look 10 years from now, you know. So,
Um, then we don't want to be tribal, and like people would come up and ask like why only EOS. It's like no, we support different ecosystems, and
It's interesting because we've had this exact same conversation with Michael of EOS USA,
mhm.
and internally in General EOS as well, right? Like we're expanding to other non-EOS IO blockchains, kind of, and I think that's going to be the future, right? Like we can't be locked into this.
Right.
But like now it seems okay because we have Pomelo funding and
Mhm.
we've got the elections and things like that. But I mean, we've got to be able to branch out as a community to other people. So yeah, that's cool. So again, you guys are across multiple ESIO chains. You've been in the space for a while. Jerry's been doing things since the early days of Bitcoin before even EOS even existed.
Right.
But you're back for season 2, Pomelo Pitch Decks. You guys have got kind of like a new team, some fresh blood on the street, I guess. You've been working hard. You've got 2 proposals up for grabs. Quite a bit of EOS on the table. So we're going to go through those. So just give us a quick rundown. What are the 2 proposals that you have, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so the first one, Jimmy, is the smart contract migration tool that we built internally just for our own usage, and to help us migrate these contracts that we've been building internally. And shout out to Roger. He was very instrumental in getting that all together for us. And hey, we were like, let's make this tool available to the community. It's a useful tool. It cuts down on those migration tasks by a bit, and So, we said let's go ahead and make that public. And so that's what we're doing with this grant. It should be, I don't know if it's ready yet. Yeah, you pull it up there. I don't know if we're ready to make it public. We should be, I think, in the next week or so, honestly, making this available to the public. But yeah, we just wanted to bring this to the community. It's a great tool. And we're going to make some slight improvements to it to make it more universal, take out some of the hard-coded variables and stuff, make it more applicable to anyone that wants to use it.
So I think this is good, right? Like, because one of the things that a lot of people who are in the ESIO space that didn't freak out when, like, things didn't go the way that we thought, they always quote the fact that the technology is a little bit more sustainable. It's a little bit better, right? So
Yeah.
ESIO smart contracts, unlike Ethereum, can be modified and upgraded after deployment.
Right.
If the table is modified, a migration is required so that all data stored on old and new follows the same structure. So this is one of the issues with early Bitcoin and
Yep.
ledger technologies in general is how do you synthesize common knowledge across multiple systems throughout the world, right? And that's kind of what Satoshi kind of solved with the whole blockchain idea behind Bitcoin. Now, one of the benefits that we have over in EOSIO is that it's pretty much all the same code, right? Whether you're looking at Wax, whether you're looking at Ultra, whether you're looking at UX or EOS, it's all the same, right? Like, it all runs on kind of the same base layer of technology. However, it's not really that compatible with all of these other technologies. So how does this play into EOSIO and benefit EOS?
Johnny, you want to take that?
Well, yeah, I wish Roger was here because this was literally all his code.
Yep.
And like Jerry said, it's pretty much was just purely built for functionality. So it's not really pretty or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think, like, the most important thing to remember is that, like, there's a bunch of different chains in EOSIO, but they're not necessarily communicating with one another. They can communicate with one another, but they're not necessarily doing it, right?
Yeah, and this script does work for any EOSIO blockchain. I do know that much. So it can be very useful, just not for EOS, can be used for any of the other EOSIO chains as well.
And again, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, again, like, I think what we're going to see in the future is a lot more shared information. It seems to be moving that way. We came out of an era where EOS was kind of segregated from the rest of the EOSIO communities, and they kind of went and did their own thing. Wax with NFTs. I mean, Ultra with gaming, it's still pretty segregated, honestly. Like Ultra,
right.
Like UX with the finance stuff. But like what we've seen with Pomelo, even going back to the first season, is, and even with the ENF, right? Like, now there's like kind of regular meetings with representatives from all of these chains that are getting together that are like starting to look hardcore into the technology, right?
Yeah.
And so like a tool like this is going to be really useful when people decide that they want to open up on more than one or two blockchains that are EOSIO related, because there isn't a lot of projects that are doing that, right? I think Meta Collect is doing that. The Finny guys, they've got stuff on Wax, they've got stuff on EOS, but the majority of projects are singular chains to these days. So
and one important thing with this one, Jimmy, is when the migration, when you run this script, it actually pauses the contract so that you don't have any unexpected outcomes. So that's one critical thing. It freezes all contract actions in the middle of the migration. So that's important as well. Little stuff like that goes a long way.
Yeah, it's really just going to be a great tool for improving their quality of life when it comes time to pivot to another chain. Like our subsidiary Facings has been working on their platform, and And long-term goals are to make it available on Proton or other EOS IO chains, and these migrations, rather than having to repeat a tedious process where human error can muck up everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely something that hopefully people find useful.
I do a show with Sean over on Twitch every Friday night, and it's funny. Like last night, we were talking about driving, and how some of these new cars, these top of the line cars, the Musk cars, the Teslas, and things like that. They've got this kind of little thing that you can use, kind of like back in the day with Demolition Man, where it's all automatic and it beeps if you're too close, or it moves if you're too close. And he's like, why would anyone not want to use that, right? Like, why would you want to like think about, getting into an accident or causing these problems? And you kind of bring it up, right? Like, we're in blockchain technology, but a lot of times everyone is still working from the ground up, right? Like they're building everything from the ground up. And I would say that's actually one of EOS's biggest problems, one of EOS IO's biggest problems. And EOS, failed miserably at this back in the early days when other chains succeeded. And I think part of it was because EOS was trying to tackle too much. And the developers were heads down. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some of the best developers in space. You got John Boyd and Aaron Cox and those guys over at Greymass that are developing great technology and great tools. Some of them who left and moved over to Ultra. The guys from Scatter is a really good example. Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest issues, really, is the fact that everyone's head down working on their own contracts and none of it is synthesized. Right. And so I just want to put this out there, right? Like, for the last 3 years, everybody's been building their own stuff and nobody's been paying attention to what anyone else has been building. And the potential for this actual proposal to go public in the future and allow people to tap into it and use it and port their things over to another blockchain basically opens up a whole new avenue of potential for EOS.io, branding, technology, applications, dApps, things like that, right? I don't think people are really understanding the importance of a migration tool that you don't actually have to think about. It's a plug-and-play option that doesn't really exist anywhere on EOS. Maybe if I got that wrong, correct me, but...
No, and it will be, that's what we want. That's what the proposal is, for us to go ahead and finalize it so it's a plug-and-play, fully plug-and-play script. So yeah, that's the goal of this migration tool. And I just want to go back to the whole cross-chain concept and idea topic we've been discussing, Jimmy. I talked to Douglas Horn from Telos the other day, and I'm excited to see that he's talking with EOS, and they're getting together, and there's a lot of things coming down the pike that I think it's going to be exciting to see. All the different chains come together to work in one common goal. So I'm excited about that.
Has changed, shameless plug, because I'm excited as well. I was supposed to have an interview the day I had surgery, actually, with Doug. Okay. And I was supposed to have an interview with you a couple of days later. So I'm kind of excited to tap into those interviews as well. I think we're going to do something in a week or two. But like you said, it's really interesting to see some of these old school harsh critics coming back, into the fold and working together, right?
It's probably because Block 1 is out of the way.
Okay, show's over. I can guarantee you that's why. I don't get me started on corporate vested interest in technology. It doesn't belong because they're looking at it from an old world perspective, and that's not what we need. I mean, if you're, two different scenarios that have nothing to do with this show. All right, let's go to the next proposal, and we'll have a look at that. This one is.
This one is major, man, and JP worked on this, so he can really talk to how this has helped with LACchain and that project and them picking it up. And so Go
Yeah,
ahead,
Nodesuite's
JP.
been Nodesuite was actually the first thing that I worked on when I was approached by EOS Detroit. Rob Rigo, our fearless leader, he said he was working with something called Ansible, creating different playbooks and looking for a way to really simplify managing, configuring your different nodes, spinning things up from scratch, um, and wanting to open source it. So that was really Rob's baby. He kind of started it out. Um, Too busy to work on it. A lot of things going on in the space, of course, always. Um, so yeah, when I dug into that I think it's been about 2 years now. We got it to a decent place and open sourced it. And now we're looking to actually flesh it out. It's functional, but it needs to be cleaned up. It needs some love. And we're looking to do a first 1.0 release. This is a tool where if anyone's never used EOSIO before, doesn't know much about actually deploying infrastructure, deploying a node, and being a part of the network and contributing some way through actually um, running servers or hosting services. Um, yeah, the goal of this was just to find a way to have people plug in a few values um, and just push button get node essentially. Do you want a V1 history API? Do you want a Hyperion API? Are you just looking to stand up peering nodes to help proliferate data through the network? Are you actually looking to stand up a producer node, an actual signing node? And these are all things that it's gotten a little bit better, but when I joined the space, it seemed that documentation regarding EOSIO was a bit scattered. Guides weren't really comprehensive from what I had seen. And yeah, we just wanted to kind of make things easier for people jumping in. And of course, making it open source. This wasn't, some secret sauce that we wanted to hoard. We wanted to make it easier for if anyone's interested in being a block producer or being part of the ecosystem in that kind of way, they'd have a tool. And yeah, that's where we ended up with Nodesuite.
I mean, that's kind of like where we got our start was, back in the early days with the, the toolkit, right? The GenerEOS toolkit. It was one of the first like kind of places that you could come and do things, on EOS. And from there, things were okay, but like they got just as complicated as other blockchains. And it's interesting because if we look at what's happening, right, like there's a definite advantage to being on EOS, but there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily being done to their full potential. Like one example would be history nodes, right? Like almost nobody's running history nodes on blockchains, and nobody's like really appreciating that, right? I think that there's like 2 or 3 block producers that are doing that, right? And so to be able to get to a point where developers can come in from mainstream tech and kind of understand how to tap into the power of enabling the EOSIO blockchain, I think is pretty important. But again, not everyone can read code, right? Like not everyone is familiar with,
Yeah.
And that's something, JP, can you talk to that as far as the history nodes? That's one of our initiatives that we're working on as well, correct?
Yeah, so as these chains are all growing, the transaction volume and the amount of users coming in, when Sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking down there.
I like it. It adds character. It's good. It means you're not a robot.
Yeah.
It's great.
Right.
But yeah, when I first joined, we actually had mostly probably 90% cloud infrastructure. There were some like signing nodes, the amount of performance that's necessary, like the specs that are required on your machines. It didn't lend itself well, and was near impossible to make a performant signing node on cloud infrastructure, or at least your just basic VMs that are offered on different cloud infrastructure provider platforms. So we started building out, we got into our first data center, and then a second, and then a third, building out machines in such a way for very specific use cases. Some of them are virtualizing and running multiple VMs with multiple services on them. And recently we got into a third data center, and we dropped about 40 grand on different, just more infrastructure to be able to host. We're dedicating another data center specifically to public APIs. And this is something that we've been wanting to do for a long time, because the ones that we had in the past simply weren't performant enough. They were just, they just kept dying due to whatever resource being limited, or So it's good to actually have stuff that's not just breaking all the time. That's cool. And
you don't need the servers. Let the what's that? Let them burn. I like it. Yeah. So I think it's. We've done a few of these shows, but I think it's interesting that you guys really aren't asking for that much. I mean, $7,000 to build this out is pretty low lift, right? Like, and I think it's something that will back the ecosystem, right? And it'll be really helpful. So
yeah, that was definitely the goal of it, was just to get it out there and have hopefully see users trickle in and actually start utilizing it and contributing and making it better. But honestly, when I pushed the button and open sourced it, I was just like, man, I would really love for this to be up to snuff, like up to my standards. Wanted that first release to be, nice and shiny, really well polished. But it was difficult to keep spending more, especially at the time, the amount of resources and hours on it. And we're in a way better position now, which is great. Yeah.
Having block producers on the Pomelo Grant show presents a little bit of a challenge for me. Because I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not. But I'm going to say this, right? Like, what we've seen in Pomelo Season 2 is a big push from the social aspect, from the social side of things, right? Like, there's a lot of people who are out there doing promotions, who are looking at doing marketing, who are looking at doing various, things to better the image of EOS, or to get EOS's image on the radar,
which is needed,
which is definitely needed. But one of the things that I'm noticing is a lot of the actual dev proposals this round seem to be taking a little bit of a backseat to that social aspect, right? And so I just want to encourage people to go and read these proposals and see if there's a need for this, do you think, in the ecosystem, then throw your 1 or 2 EOS in there, right? Because, like, I know EOS Detroit, like, there's a few other block producers
We've been around since the beginning.
Since the beginning in the
Yeah.
West, grinding and doing really good things.
Right.
There's a few of them, right? Like that are a little bit underappreciated. So I want people to understand that Pomelo is great because it allows people to come in from these other aspects, from metaverses or from the social aspect to better the image. But we still need this kind of infrastructure for it to work, right? I mean, we might be still ahead of other blockchains, but like we lost our 2.5 year lead over the last 2.5 years, right? So the development still has to come because the right people weren't being funded, and now we're at this opportune moment where these grants and this quadratic funding and matching mechanism can actually toss in a lot. So I mean, $7,000 for that proposal isn't very much. I mean, if a bunch of people throw in 1 or 2 EOS, you guys can get there really quickly. And I think that's, for me, what I'm looking for is the longevity of various proposals that, came from season 1 or began in season 2 that will go, the distance throughout time and actually make real impact to the tech and specs of what everyone's trying to build on. So like kudos to that. It's the trench work that nobody really appreciates, but I think you guys are doing good jobs.
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, and this is I know Rodrigo. He submitted a proposal in season 1 for facings, but this is EOS Detroit Ledger Technologies' first season. Okay, so yeah, go out there and support us. We're out there grinding.
Yeah, we're hoping to, if there's no services or anything built on these chains, like what do the users have to look forward to? Maybe I'm biased because I've been a career software engineer. I've always been coding my whole life. But yeah, as a developer, when I show up and there's no tooling, or it's a tough sell, And that wasn't me saying there's no tooling on in this ecosystem. That was just if it's lacking, it's difficult to dig in and.
I'm laughing because I think actually, to be honest, we give them flack a lot. But one of the things that Block One actually did do an okay job with was, putting the information out there for people to be able to learn how to, code on EOS.io. But again, there was no plug and play option, and this is problematic, right? Like when you have people coming in, especially in EOS, right? Like. And one of the benefits, correct me if I'm wrong here, JP, but one of the benefits of being on EOS is, the programming language of EOS.io is one of the most common languages in the world, right? It's not like Terra where you have to go and learn Rust, which was invented, I don't know, last week or something. Don't get me wrong, I love Terra, but it's so I think it definitely needs to be more dev friendly to mainstream as opposed to crypto people. That's my personal opinion, not opinion of this channel or anyone on the stream, but that's what we need to plug into in the blockchain space is this C++ and mainstream developers that can actually come in here and use it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So all right, well, that's I rambled enough. Do you guys have anything to lead out that I might have missed or you guys might have missed in our coverage of the proposal? Something that will entice people to get back to the roots of EOS.io, which is really the tech and how to fix the world with it.
No, I mean, not at this point. I don't have anything else. JP may just definitely check us out. Detroit Ledger Technologies. If you see that name, it's still EOS Detroit. We're still plugging along. Just a new veneer. But yeah, we're still doing our thing and looking to expand, and we've hired a couple more engineers, and so we're working on a couple of projects right now in the play to earn space on Wax and doing some things on EOS as well. So yeah, just support us if you guys can. We greatly would appreciate it.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in Nodesuite, in contributing or even just using it, you can reach out to me personally on Telegram. My handle is Wake Up Johnny. If I got time, I will respond eventually. And yeah.
Yeah, and so if you follow the links below in the video, it links directly to the proposal. I think all your socials are on the proposal as well. How people can find you on the website, where people can follow you and things like that. So definitely go over there and check out, the rebrand. I'll miss the car, but I mean, I like the Ledger Technologies part.
Thanks, Jimmy, as always, and I'm looking forward to getting you on my channel next week.
Okay, I don't know who we're going to be back with next, but we'll be back with somebody very soon. Thanks for tuning into another Pomelo Pitch Deck. By the way, before I let you go, have you already, or are you guys planning on doing a EOS Fireside Chat in the Discord that people can maybe tune into if they have any questions?
We haven't thought about that, so that's a great idea. We'll do that.
Okay, cool.
We'll definitely do that.
That one's a little bit more interactive than this one because there's a lot of interaction. It's a little bit shorter too, so maybe watch this back. If you see Jerry and Johnny over on the EOS Fireside Chats in the Discord, have your questions ready. They can come in and answer it. That's all for us. This morning for you guys, this evening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.